I am Dynasty Outhouse, and I have a trading problem.
And I'm Brian Haar, and I also have a trading problem.
And I'm James.
Sorry, my mic was muted. Damn it! I even did it, awesome. And I'm like, wait, what's going on? What's going on? Why are they waiting on me?
Man, unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
I am James Katulas, and I definitely have a trading problem.
And I'm not cutting any of this out. Hey, everybody. Welcome to session 30 of the Trade Addicts podcast, where we are getting close to our midlife crisis area. If sessions were ages. I mean, I turned 30. Oh, man. I think I was already boring by the time I was 30. I was about to try and think of some fun transition I was going through, but I was married. I had my first kid at 30, so I got nothing. Nothing fun happened. But football is fun. Week 7 was awesome. There were touchdowns right away, and it kept going. So there's a lot of scoring, which is great for fantasy football. How was your fantasy week, Brian? How'd you do?
It was ugly.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was pretty ugly.
How many games did you lose?
I don't even know. A bunch. I probably went 350 this weekend. It was awful. It was awful.
You'll appreciate those 500 weeks even more after suffering such an embarrassing amount of losses.
Yeah. Oh, wow, man. That's brutal. I did not have a good week either by any stretch of the imagination. So the three of us sitting here are kind of all in similar boats, because I think I was probably about 352, if I had to guess, somewhere around there, because it wasn't pretty.
See, I had a decent week in leagues I wanted to win in, but we need to talk. I was going to save this for the end, but we're going to talk about it now.
Here we go.
Trade Addicts 3. Mr. Fugazi himself. What the hell's his actual tag? At Fugazi Life FB. Now, this man is in Trade Addicts 3. This man has not made a trade yet this season. This man is undefeated. Before this, and I have one win. This team is the one I've been complaining about on Twitter. I love this team. Every week I make trades that I think makes this team better, and every week I lose, and it is infuriating. Yeah, flames on the side of my face, burning, heaving, because right away I find out I'm playing Fugazi, and I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna pickle the beast. I'm taking him down. Start trash talking immediately. Weeks going in, I'm feeling good. I'm scoring some points. I'm doing awesome. All right, Sunday ends. I'm up by 52 points. He has Eli Manning and Saquon Barkley. 52.6 they scored. I lost by 0.6. This team that I have a lot of pride for this team. I love this team. I thought I was going to end up, that's it. I don't care if I have one win. I'm making this playoff push. You know what? I don't care. I have one win. I'm taking down the Colossus. .6. The curses were flying in the Outhouse household and in the GroupMe chats.
Yeah, the GroupMe chats were hilarious.
And I DM'd him. I was about to say I was the bigger man and I congratulated him, but no, curses were flying in that DM also.
Did he respond?
He's like, honestly, I almost feel bad about it. And I'm like, no, you save your pity.
Oh, man.
0.6.
I'm in a league with Fugazi, and dude, that guy, he's tough to beat, man. We drafted this year. I don't know if you guys drafted this year, but seemed like when the leagues I'm in with him that he drafted this year, he nailed it, dude. He's killing it in that league too. So yeah, I know that disappointment at least a little bit, because I lost to him several times. So
yeah, Saquon and Melvin Gordon was how he started. So you could tell his season's going pretty well already.
Yeah, he's fine.
I'm actually in both of those leagues. I'm in Trade Addicts 3, and I think I'm in the one you're talking about, James. That's the Friends of the Show league, right? The auction.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm in that one too.
Yeah, that's right. You were
beat him. One of you two.
Yeah.
Take him down.
I'm not doing too much of anything in that league either. So
same. Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we got that out nice and early.
That was hilarious. That was like a Matthew Berry-esque.
You know, I haven't even seen that. I read about it, but I haven't actually seen it happen.
Oh, it was really
fantastic.
good.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Point.
Made me like him even more. Like, it was absolutely hilarious.
All right.
And I felt the pain too. And you'll understand when you watch it.
I'll go watch that when we get off of this thing.
There you go.
All right. Let's get back on track. All right. James of the Superflex Super Show. It's awesome to have you on. I've been listening to your show forever. And I remember talking to Brian when we started, saying how pretty much the way you guys talk to each other is what I want us to be. Because it honestly sounds like the three of you are in a room together, BSing, talking football, and making fun of each other. And I think you guys do a great job.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for the kind words. We definitely knew early on that we had some chemistry, and that's always fun, is when you get three guys in a room who are knowledgeable. I feel like I learned something from John and Travis every single episode, and yet I still don't agree with them. So it's always fun when you can kind of get that dynamic together and everyone can kind of lay out their case, not worry about hurting anybody else's feelings, and everyone just kind of walks away from a discussion a whole lot better for it. So I really appreciate that, the kind words, those guys. And I think you guys are nailing it here. I'm really happy to be part of the show this go around here. So
yeah, thanks. And yeah, I actually aim to hurt Brian's feelings most shows. So, I mean, maybe that's the difference between yours and ours a little bit, that, you know, when I see that little tint of anguish in his eyes, ever since we started using Hangouts, it gives me a little bit of a sense of satisfaction. So maybe that's where we're going a little bit wrong.
No, I don't think so. I think you have the John and Travis dynamic of it.
Yeah, yes.
Because they definitely look to antagonize each other, and normally I'm just trying to get out of the way so I don't get hurt. And that's kind of my role on it, you know. So
James, the voice of reason in between those two.
I don't know about reason. I definitely feel like Travis has the voice of reason more often than not. And
exactly, especially with his Ebron love, right? Love it.
Two people exhale deeply.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't even defend against it at this point. So that's basically what that was. But yeah, no, I think that's what you guys got, man. You guys got the John and Travis rolls down, and you don't have anyone that has to try to get out of the way. So that works good.
Well, if you're ever looking to jump ship, we could use a James.
There we go. Now I know. See, I'm going to go back to these guys with some demands.
We'll have to negotiate. Yeah, we'll have to negotiate a trade for them.
Yeah, now I can go back with some demands and be like, all right, guys, here we go.
That's right.
I demand some respect around here.
I am in high regard right now. So you guys are going to have to sweep me off my feet here.
Before I forget, if you have not listened to that Maraschino Cherry episode yet, you have to go back and listen to that. It was like back in August or July or something. I don't know. It's literally the funniest hour and a half of radio podcasting, whatever, that I've ever heard. It was hilarious. Hilarious. It was my favorite.
That one was good.
All right. Well, let's reel ourselves back in a little. First, all right, we already sort of jumped the gun a bit. James is on the Superflex Super Show, but why don't you tell these people where they can find you on Twitter and everything else you do?
Yeah, you can find me at _James the Brain on Twitter. Obviously, big part of my life is that Superflex Super Show. You can find that at Superflex Super Show on Twitter, and also writing for DLF, DynastyLeagueFootball.com is where you can find that content. There's always content on there. If I go on that site, I'm on there for like 2 hours because I'm always finding new articles that I didn't even know came out and just all sorts of cool stuff. So if you haven't been there, go to DLF.com and cruise around because there's always some good stuff on there.
Hope somebody just got paid for that plug. All right. So now let's get down to the nitty gritty of it all. How long have you been playing fantasy football?
I have been playing fantasy football. This is my 19th season playing fantasy football. Yeah, I've been playing for a while, man. Even my cousin, when I was 16 years old, my cousin took me under his wing, and we had a 16-team league that that we drafted. It was a live draft, and so we'd go there, live auction too, which was totally cool to be my first, experience. And it was redraft, though it wasn't dynasty. But yeah, it was, that back then, not only did we do the draft, but we also had to call in the lineups to a commissioner who, we'd have to leave it on a voicemail.
Wow.
We'd get something in the mail every 4 weeks letting us know our standings and total points. We're checking box scores. Yeah. So that was how it kind of all started for me. So pretty fun looking back at it now and seeing how far fantasy has come.
Man, you've been playing fantasy football for almost as long as some of our guests have been alive for.
I'm no better at it than any of them are. So I can tell you that much. Like the experience hasn't done me all that well, but that's all right.
All right. Well, now that you've just convinced these people that they shouldn't actually listen to what you say, how long have you been playing Dynasty for?
Dynasty has not been quite as long. I did redraft for a while, but Dynasty this is my 11th season doing Dynasty. So
man, that's still pretty long. That's longer than a lot of people have been playing fantasy for.
Yeah, and I real quick, Dynasty. There's so many cool ways to play Dynasty, but I know that a lot of people have toyed with salary cap leagues.
Mm-hmm.
By far, my favorite is a salary cap Dynasty, and I know that there are different sites that can do this for you, but keeping it simple, keeping like a $300 cap for every team, $400, $500, something like that, and doing it that way to me is so cool. It's a lot easier to kind of keep player salaries and values in your mind when you have a lower cap. But out of all the ways I've played, that is my favorite way to play fantasy. So I had to throw that in there. If you haven't tried it, you got to try it.
I have done that. It's awesome, and I'm terrible at it.
Yeah. When I first started, it took me years to get to the point where I was decent. So now is where I'm decent at it. But I just enjoy the challenge. Every week it's something different.
All right, I'm definitely giving you I'm sliding up into your DMs when auction time rolls around.
I was thinking the same thing. Yep.
All right. So you've been playing for 11 years. I'm sure you've been making trades for 11 years. Let's hear some of your best and worst trades.
Oh, man. Okay, so I'm going to tell you one of my worst trades because this trade, I pretty much got killed on Twitter with this trade, and it was in a Devy league. And it was recent. It's for a guy who still hasn't played in the NFL, so you can kind of say that maybe it wasn't great. But I gave up Zeke Elliott and a first-round Devy pick for Jonathan Taylor, and I mean, Zeke Elliott's already proven what he can be in the league. When you're giving up that plus a first-round pick for a guy who hasn't, has fumbling issues in college and hasn't done anything in the league and is 2 years away from being drafted at the time, it was definitely a trade that got me a lot of laughs. In my defense, though, I will say it's a little bit of homerism. I live in Wisconsin. I'm a UW guy, so it was one of those things where I had to make this move. The guy who had him was not going to give him up for pretty much anything I had. So I had to overpay for him. And even though I did do that, it's one of the only Devy leagues I'm in. So I wanted to have this guy on my roster. So I overpaid, and it was bad. However, I will say my best trade happened several years ago. But at the time, I traded Andre Johnson, who was still, relatively in his prime. He was the number 1 rated fantasy receiver going into that year. Mm-hmm. And before the first week, I traded Andre Johnson, and I traded it was Andre Johnson and got it written down here. It was Andre Johnson and TJ Houshmandzadeh. I traded Andre Johnson and TJ Houshmandzadeh, and I got back Chris Johnson, who wasn't his rookie year. So nobody really knew too much. Chris Johnson and Calvin Johnson.
Ooh.
And that was the year that Calvin Johnson went absolutely nuts. And I had Stafford on my squad. So that was a championship I won because of that trade. And so that was one of those trades that I'll never forget because I getting those two guys made my fantasy year, man. Got me a championship. So that was the best.
Yeah, I remember I actually wrote Andre Johnson and Chris Johnson to a championship that year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the Johnsons. I almost made a very embarrassing trophy to commemorate my Johnson championship.
Should have done it.
Okay.
Decided against it. and I'm sure my wife is all the happier for it. All right, so you make trades. What is your guiding principle you take with you when you're offering or evaluating trades?
Really, the main thing when offering trades, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves, when I get a trade offer and somebody offers me a trade and they say, well, I think it's equal value, and that could be fine, but sometimes you have to look at the team that you're trading with. I mean, if I have 5 receivers better than the receiver you're offering me for my top tight end, and I don't have any tight end depth, then I'm likely not going to accept the trade if I'm trying to win this year. I mean, it's just that's kind of one of the things is look at the other person's roster. Look at what you have. I mean, to me, that's one of the reasons why I feel like I can make a lot of deals is I'll look at the rosters in my league and go, okay, I have depth at wide receiver. Who do I think needs wide receiver help? And what can I, gain by trading them a wide receiver? So that's to me, it's the huge thing is looking at a trade from everyone's perspective and seeing, is this just something that's going to help me, or is this going to be something that could be beneficial for both sides? That's one of my guiding principles when doing that. But as far as getting offers go, I always like it when somebody contacts me before sending an offer. Just kind of feels me out. Hey, do you have any interest in this player? Instead of sending me 3 offers for this player that I reject because I don't have any interest. So to me, that's one of those things that I like to do too. Just kind of reach out and touch base with someone before shooting out an offer unless they have them on their trade bait, that sort of thing.
Yeah, those are it's funny because those are pretty basic things that we've talked about many times, but the fact that so many people blindly send crap offers and so many people send you offers for stuff you don't need still, it's just, it's crazy, but thankful that you still say it out loud, and hopefully someone somewhere listening is like, you know what, that's a really good idea. So thank you, James.
If you haven't listened to us, listen to James. He knows what he's doing.
If you haven't listened to us, why are you still listening to us? All right. Well, today, our news, we're going to go through a little quick because the bad thing about recording once a week is that when things happen like the day after you record, by the next time you put out a pod, it's like a week and a half old. So these things have happened. I'm sure you know how you feel by now, but we'll talk a little bit about them. Carlos Hyde was traded to the Jaguars. Now, we happen to have a Browns fan on our podcast right now. So, James, how do you feel about this for real football, and what are your fantasy implications in this?
Yeah, it's interesting. For real football, I think this helps Jacksonville. I like TJ Yeldon a little bit, but I think with Fournette, you can never be too careful. It looks like, we've had ankle injuries, we've had hamstrings, we've had knee issues in the past. If you're Jacksonville and you feel like you can compete, you gotta get somebody in there. So I like that. For their side of it. For the Browns side, it's a little interesting to see if they did that to open up playing time for guys like Nick Chubb and Duke Johnson, or if there's a bigger play involved. Are they looking at a bigger back like a Le'Veon Bell or something like that? But I think for the time being, I really hope that this is, time to evaluate Nick Chubb and see what you have in him going into the next year. And same thing with Duke Johnson, getting him a little bit more, playing time and getting him the ball in space, kind of where he's dangerous. So yeah, I like it for real football. I like for fantasy. I think it's tough for Hyde owners. You go from a guy who is getting the majority of the carries to a guy who you don't know week in and week out what he's going to get. But that'll be interesting to kind of monitor too. It might be a buy low opportunity for Hyde.
What do you think dynasty value wise, this means about Fournette? Are you worried even more than you were before with the amount of games he's missed, and now that they bring in another, we'll call him a solid running back?
Yeah, no, I like Carlos Hyde a lot, but I don't know that it would affect my dynasty ranking of Fournette at this point. Carlos Hyde, that contract that he signed was front loaded, so this year you're pretty much on the hook for a lot of that money. But moving forward, you can get rid of Carlos Hyde, and the loss is negligible next year. And I think it's nothing after the second year, if I'm not mistaken. I think you can cut him, and there's no cap penalty. So I don't think long term that this does a whole lot. I think this is something that helps Jacksonville right away this year. And then moving forward, I don't know that it does anything for Fournette. But I do know this. If I have Fournette, I'm definitely looking to handcuff him. So if Carlos Hyde is going to be that handcuff long term, that's definitely a guy I want to roster.
I like it. Good move. And are we still thinking, because Yeldon's going to be a free agent at the end of this year? Is there anyone else there right now?
Yeah, Corey I don't Grant. Know. Yeah, Corey Grant. And
right. He went to IR. He's not dead or anything.
Yeah. That's interesting too with Corey Grant, because he showed pretty well when he was healthy, at least catching the ball out of the backfield. So, and obviously after this move, Jamal Charles got cut, which, I mean, he didn't really have much of a run there anyways. But yeah, I mean, for the time being, it looks like it's those three guys, right? I mean, Yeldon, Hyde, and Fournette, and good luck trying to figure out which one's going to be usable which week. But hopefully that clarifies itself, moving forward these next few games.
All right, cool. Moving on, speaking of, Mike McCoy got fired. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to celebrate a man losing his job, but I may have literally danced when I read that Mike McCoy got fired. I have a couple of DJ shares, like maybe 2 or 3, and it pained me every week to watch this poor man run into the back of his center and have nowhere to go and never catch the ball. So Byron Leftwich is now the offensive coordinator, which I am being told I should be happy about. Bryant, should I be happy about this?
Happier. I mean, I guess we don't really know what we're gonna get out of Leftwich and how he's gonna run that offense, but I mean, can it really be worse?
That's a lot of what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Can it really get any worse?
Yeah, I mean, if it's even a smidgen better, it'll be better. So hopefully he does a nice job there. It's his first coordinator job in the league, so it'll be interesting to see how that offense responds and if they can get something going. Josh Rosen's now at quarterback there and hasn't looked great, but I was very open about liking him as the top quarterback in this last class. So hopefully he'll be able to kind of get it going. And once they can open that up, then obviously DJ will have some more space to run, and they need to use him more in the passing game too. He just hasn't been really involved there. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully this will help. It can't get a whole lot worse than it's been up to this point in the season. So,
are you either of you using this as a buy or sell window for anyone on this team? James, you can go first.
Well, yeah, it's tough because I think a lot of the guys that I would want to buy are so young. Guys like Christian Kirk and Josh Rosen, that I don't know that anybody was giving them away at a discount anyways. David Johnson's an interesting, case study. I don't know really how this is going to affect him, so I don't know that I'm going out and buying just yet, because he's still going to cost you a lot. So I don't know. I don't think that there's anybody that I'm looking to buy low on. I'll be interested to hear, Brian, kind of your take on some of those guys and like maybe a Fitzgerald or Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah, I was thinking Fitzgerald as far as an option on both ends of that, buy low or sell high. If they can get that offense going a little bit, and he has a couple nice games, I mean, if you're not competing, there's really no reason he should be on your roster. So, if he has a couple nice games and you can try to sell him to a contender, if you're not contending, then I probably would try to do that. And vice versa. If you're a contender and you're looking for a little bit of receiver help, then yeah, he might be a guy to target right now before he does get it going and before we see what this offense is capable of with a different coordinator. And the problem is the offensive line is still terrible. Mm-hmm. So that isn't really changing. I mean, play calling can help some of that, but just in terms of helping Josh Rosen get the ball out quickly, or maybe running the ball to the outside instead of just continually hammering the ball straight up the middle. But that offensive line isn't really anything to write home about. So that's going to be an issue, even if the play calling and stuff is better. So I don't know how much better this offense is going to be in the second half of the season, but it can't get a whole lot worse. So that's kind of where I am. Seals-Jones is another guy, I guess, that would be maybe a buy low opportunity. He's a guy that, has flashed a couple times. when he's been given the opportunity. So, I mean, I think he's another guy that you could possibly target there as a buy low, but I'm kind of just in hold mode with that whole offense outside of DJ. I mean, if you own DJ, you're probably sticking with him at this point because you're not, not selling him right now. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'm kind of in a hold pattern with this whole offense.
All right. Well, holding is boring. I'm going to give some actionable advice. The reason everyone is saying to be optimistic about what the hell? Leftwich? I almost said Dave Garrard, which is to me is a little funny because,
it's one of those old Jacksonville quarterbacks. Yeah.
The reason that, people are saying to have a little faith in Leftwich is because he's now a disciple of Bruce Arians. What does Bruce Arians do? Tells his quarterback to close his eyes and throw the ball as far as he can. I think that's going to help Chad Williams. So I say, especially in best ball leagues where you never have to actually decide to start him, go buy some Chad Williams. And you should be able to do that for a third. So.
I like it, man. That is nice. That's thinking outside the box there too.
Yeah, because again, that team's still going to be a dumpster fire. That team is just not great. It's going to, maybe they'll get that nice rally behind the new OC kind of play for a couple of games, but I think that'll come back down to earth. So yeah, maybe you use that as your sell high on Fitzgerald after 2 games of them taking it easy and easing into the new system of feed Fitzgerald for a few games.
Yeah, all right, for sure.
Last little bit of news, that's the right word to use. Amari Cooper got traded to the Cowboys for a first-round pick. Now, Cooper is becoming the new Sammy Watkins. Like, you love this guy or you hate this guy, and there's absolutely no in between. Now, again, same question, I guess, as before. Like, are you using this as a buy or a sell, or like, what the hell are you doing with this? Like, because honestly, I don't even know. He's like, spoiler alert, he's one of my keeps because for the exact same reason. I have no idea what to do with him, so I'm just going to do nothing. What do you guys think?
I think I'm probably going to sell him, and I'll be honest, I'm on the opposite of the love side of the spectrum for Amari Cooper, and you're absolutely right. I mean, we don't really know how this is going to affect him, and it could be a positive change. I don't know that things could get a whole lot worse than they were in Oakland, anyways. So it makes sense to keep him, but for some reason, it seems like people lose their minds after a trade happens, like an in-season trade like this, because so few happen. So it shakes things up for people, and I feel like that you have a window, like a 24-hour window, to sell a player pretty high, because people are overreacting to the news, right away. They're hearing it on every outlet. So that's me. If I would have already sold Amari, basically is what I'm saying. And especially when I found out that he has 2 bye weeks, he had the bye week last week and now he's got a bye week this week. Like, no, I'm good. But it's interesting. I want to see how it's going to affect guys like Michael Gallup. Last game, Michael Gallup actually finally looked like Dallas was going to use him as a number 1. And I want to see how this kind of affects that. Is that going to affect his growth, or is that going to, are they going to line him up against number 2 corners and kind of pick on them, or, how's it going to affect Cole Beasley around the middle? And then, is it going to open up some running lanes for Zeke too? So it'll be interesting to see how it affects people on that team, in my opinion. But as far as Amari goes, I'm selling.
All right. So every week I ask for trades from the past week for our Twitter followers, and at SuperFlexerFF said, actually, I don't even remember which side he said he was on, but a mid-first for Amari Cooper. Say you have Amari Cooper on your team. Does a mid-19 first do it for you enough to get rid of him?
Yeah, absolutely. I take the mid-first personally. Yeah,
I would too.
Yeah. And again, all right, I'm going to completely ruin it. Like, A-Rob is my other keep because, again, I have no idea what to do with him with the way that Bears offense is just sort of ignoring his existence. I've gotten a couple of offers for one first-round pick for Allen Robinson, and I can't do it. And they're sort of in the same boat to me, Allen Robinson and Amari Cooper. So, which is why I'm like frozen, and I'm probably going to be stuck with them on my team and just ride that into the ground because I have no other choice because I froze in fear. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those times where if you have him and you hate him for some reason, take what you can get. If you love him, go buy him because apparently you can get him for a first. And if you love him, a mid first is nice and easy for you to spend. So, like, yeah, I mean, have fun. That's what this is about. But you said, like what you said, I'm more excited to see if this actually makes Zeke Elliott's life a little easier because that dude,
he's been bottled up.
Yeah, he's been carrying that team on his back, and I would love to have him face maybe just 10 guys in a box.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I look forward to that because I have a couple of shares of Zeke in high places. All right, that's all the news and notes. Hundreds and hundreds of people got injured, but I don't think anything happened that's that long term that we need to really talk about trade stuff for. So let's jump into our make amends.
Make amends. Is that better? I didn't wait this time.
I appreciate it.
Nice.
Yeah, I loved it.
I'm like our human soundboard, so
you have to start like pretending to press buttons like for the soundboard. Yeah. All right. So, but here's where we let you know where we screwed up because believe it or not, we're human and we do that. So we will let our guest go first. Now, it doesn't have to be from this past week. It could be from the preseason. Let us know a few calls that you've gotten wrong.
Yeah, I'm taking this on a grand scale, guys. I'm doing it for the entire season. So coming into the season, I doubted Patrick Mahomes. I was not buying his hype. I thought he was going way too high in fantasy drafts. I didn't like the fact that his arm angle was so inconsistent. I didn't like the fact that he came from a spread offense. I didn't like the fact that he was going so high in drafts and he had one career start. I mean, there were several issues I had with Patrick Mahomes, and yeah, I'm kind of a dummy. I'm wrong. I'll admit that now. Patrick Mahomes looks fantastic. He looks like he belongs in an NFL offense. Heck, it looks like he belongs in every NFL offense. So I was definitely wrong on Patrick Mahomes, and it's not an overreaction after half a season. I really feel like this guy does a good job of reading the field. He does a really good job pre-snap. Like he knows where to look before he snaps the ball, and to me that's a sure sign that this guy's going to last. He's going to be good enough for a while because he's going to be one step ahead mentally. So even when physically, his tools break down a little bit, I think mentally he's going to be good enough to beat people from the pocket. So Patrick Mahomes is my first, guys. Did anybody else question him even a little bit coming into the season?
At his price, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was always a little bit of a fan of him, more because I thought he was fun than I thought he was any dream of being this good. But yeah, even to say I liked him doesn't do anything justice. Like anytime someone comes in and says that they called Patrick Mahomes right, I jump in and I'm just like, how right do you think you really were? Did you think he was this good? Because if you didn't, then you don't get to say you were right.
Yeah.
Stompy's about the only one.
Stompy and Andrew from Harbaugh from last week also, yeah. Both of them, they're the only ones I've seen that like straight up said, yes, this is the second coming as a quarterback.
Wow. Yeah. That good on them, man. Because I have trouble evaluating quarterbacks as is. That's the toughest position for me to evaluate when they're coming from college. So that's that. And then to miss on this is just almost embarrassing because he's so good. But real quick, I'm going to get into my second guy, and it's Melvin Gordon. And Melvin Gordon, I am sorry. This is an open apology to Melvin Gordon is what this is, because
we know he listens. So yeah,
I kept saying that Melvin Gordon is only good because of the touchdowns he gets. He's not efficient with his carries. He doesn't, do a whole lot with his carries, but he has this high touchdown total, and it's not sustainable. Well, guess what? It apparently is sustainable because this guy keeps scoring. Every time this guy starts, this guy scores 2 or 3 touchdowns. It's insane how much this guy scores and how many times he sees the end zone. Even though I will still say I think Austin Eckler is a more talented back than Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is the guy to own in fantasy. He might end up being the running back 1 this year if the Chargers continue scoring the way that they are. Melvin Gordon, I am sorry. And it was difficult to root against him anyways because he is a UW
I was
alum.
About to say, you said you're a Wisconsin guy.
Yeah. And he every year he comes back to Kenosha here in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and he does a bowling tournament for charity, and he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. So the fact that I had to kind of kind of, not have high ownership of a guy like that, kind of hurt a little bit too. So I'm happy that I get to apologize to Melvin Gordon, guys.
Nice. So you get some closure on it. That's a very happy amends you just made.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I get to cheer for a guy that I legitimately like. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, you started with Patrick Mahomes. Brian apparently is going to make amends for a couple of people he throws the ball to.
Yeah, my make amends are both Kansas City Chief weapons. Travis Kelce is the first one. I think in one of our hot take shows, I said Kelce wasn't going to finish in the top 5 of tight ends. I was wrong. Kelce's doing what he always does. He's going to end up top tight end, top 2, 3 tight end, somewhere in that range.
Behind Ebron, of course.
I don't even know what to say.
I'm a little upset that James's microphone's muted right now. I would have loved to have heard the exasperation.
Yeah. So Travis Kelce's the first one. Guy's just a stud, and he's probably the best tight end in the game at this point. All things considered, I still think Gronk is unbelievable when he's out there, but the guys just can't stay healthy at all. So, and then the second one's Tyreek Hill, and that's a big one. I did not think Tyreek Hill was anything at all. I thought he was Percy Harvin 2.0 and not on the good end of that. So I was definitely wrong about that. I mean, this guy just keeps going out there and making big plays, and he's, I think his quarterback helps. I mean, last year he did it with Alex Smith, so it's kind of hard to say that, but I think, he's great at going deep, and there aren't cornerbacks in this league that can really stay with him. I mean, he just runs past them, and Mahomes is the type of quarterback that can throw it. I mean, the guy can throw it 70 yards, so he just chucks it and says, "Go get it," and Tyreek comes down with it more often than he doesn't. So, yeah, Tyreek Hill's been really special this year. I've been beaten by him in each of the last 2 weeks in separate leagues, but yeah, he's beaten me 2 weeks in a row here with like 30+ point performances. So both of those guys are super.
And you're frozen.
Well, Russ, I got to say, though, I love the fact that I am on the episode that Brian has to pretty much do that with Tyreek Hill, because I was also I got such joy when Travis over at the Superflex Super Show at Travis NFL had to admit the same thing, and it brought me great joy because I was a Tyreek Hill truther.
And it was a special moment hearing him say, not what is it? It's not that he looked good, I think was the first time he said that he was wrong, and then finally admitted that he was a good player.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I played that over and over in my head, or over and over on my, in my car several times, so that way I could hear him say that with a big smile on my face every time I got to rewind it and hear him say it again. So that was a big moment for me. So the fact that I got to hear Brian do it, that's even more special. Now I've been on a couple different podcasts to hear people apologize to Tyreek Hill.
And to be fair, he was, I believe, my very first make amends. I don't even remember if it was this actual segment yet. I think it was what made me start this segment, was because I realized I said how wrong I was. And I'm like, maybe we should really do this, because it's not like we get everything right.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. I love the fact that you guys do it. I think that's one of those things where taking accountability for your takes, for your advice, for your rankings, for your whatever is so important. So that, when you can do that and people hear, oh yeah, all right, they knew they were wrong on that. They knew they got that one wrong. Okay. All right. Kind of lend some credence to it, to justify the work that you put in. So.
All right. And speaking of the people I have gotten wrong, I was super high on Jamison Crowder coming into this season. Like, it seemed like such a perfect fit with him and Alex Smith. And even in the preseason, it seemed like it was a perfect fit. And then the season started, and it wasn't a perfect fit. And even when Chris Thompson isn't doing well, Jamison Crowder still isn't doing well. So I've absolutely no idea what is going on. All I know is he is not doing well, and it makes me sad. So I apologize for Jameson Crowder. My bad.
It's really interesting, man. Those Washington receivers haven't done anything, have they? Has there been a Washington receiver? I mean, Paul Richardson, I guess, has had his moments here and there, but I mean, there's no consistent wide receiver one there, but yet Washington just doesn't seem to be that terrible. So it's interesting, you know. Brian, what's your thoughts on Jamison Crowder? I know Russ just made amends for him. What are your thoughts kind of on Jamison Crowder and what he's been this year?
Disappointing. I kind of was expecting him to take a step with Alex Smith coming in. You know, the type of quarterback he is. Just, I just thought that was going to be a fit. So a little bit disappointed. The good news is he's still young, and there's still time. But yeah, it's definitely been surprising. I just expected a little bit more. So,
bless you. Apparently, I'm not alone in the house. All right. Well, on that note, let's move on. But by the way, I like this, James. Like, you're helping move the podcast along. This is great. You know, if you really, I'll take that submission very seriously if you want to jump on for the number 3 on the show.
All right. See? All right. I'm liking this. I had to prove my worth while you were gone.
It's great. I love it. All right. So let's get into our main segment.
Main segment.
There it is. I pressed the button and it happened. All right. Our buys, trades, and keeps for the week. Let's jump right into James's buy for the week because I love this guy.
Yeah, my buy this week is David Njoku. And look, it took him a while to kind of get going. But if you look at his targets, I mean, his targets have been up since Baker Mayfield took over. Even just looking at last game, I mean, David Njoku was targeted 6 times. He turned that into four grabs for 52 yards and a touchdown, his second straight week finding the end zone. And the best part about David Njoku is next week, this upcoming week, they play Pittsburgh, which is not a bad matchup for tight ends. Next week, they're at home against the Chiefs. And the week after that, they're at home against the Falcons. So these are plus matchups for David Njoku coming up. He should have some big games, especially with as heavily as he's been targeted. I really like David Njoku coming forward here. Moving forward, I'm definitely looking to buy him. This is a guy who could be a top 5 tight end by season end, and you could probably get him for a whole lot less than that. So that's a guy that I'm looking to buy, guys. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I was about to, I mean, he's been my buy probably 2 or 3 weeks already, so I am all in, especially with that schedule coming up. But the second it seemed like Baker was going to be the starter, I was even more in on Njoku than I was before because we all know that Baker loves his tight ends.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I completely agree. But no, like you said that you wouldn't have to spend the top 3 or top 5 tight end, I almost said money, but, you know, value assets on him. If you were going to try and buy Njoku right now, and let's say tight end premium, because that's the only real time it's worth paying for a tight end, like what kind of offer are you sending right now, James?
Yeah, I think obviously this in a vacuum. I'll go ahead and answer this because a lot of it, you know, depends on roster construction. If you have strength at a certain position, you know, look to offer some of that depth maybe. But I'm thinking if I'm looking for David Njoku, I'm probably offering. I don't know, maybe a low tier player and a 2nd round rookie, something like that, in a tight end premium to where I know that this is a guy that I can use for the foreseeable future and for upcoming years. I was always high on David Njoku. Even coming out, I knew he was a raw player, but he's starting to look like he's reaching his potential, and he's still so young that, I mean, this guy still has a good, 10 years easy in him at a position that, tight end kind of churns out some guys throughout the years. So I think I would look at maybe a 2nd and a low tier running back, maybe, off the top of my head, maybe a Frank Gore, a 2nd round rookie and a Frank Gore, something like that might just get it done. It really depends on the owner that has them and their depth at that position. Maybe you have to throw in a tight end, a low tier tight end like a Vance McDonald or something. But I wouldn't stress too much about that if I can get a guy like David Njoku.
Oh yeah, I would throw any tight end in as part of the deal. But let's make this, because usually you're going to be trading. Let's say you need to trade a player, and usually you're going to end up needing to 1-for-1, let's just say. What do you think about Calvin Ridley for David Njoku right now, tight end premium?
Oh man, that's interesting. That's it's a little bit tougher for me. I think I'd probably rather hold on to Ridley than do Njoku, but it's really close. I could see making an argument for Njoku in a tight end premium and getting him at that point. I've been pretty high on Calvin Ridley. A guy like Christian Kirk, I would do, even if I had to do like Christian Kirk in a third. I think I would do that, but I don't know that I would do straight up with Ridley. But man, that's tough. I mean, that value is real close.
Yeah, because the way I was thinking about it is if you're looking for that tight end 1, you're probably going to need to spend like a low-tiered wide receiver 2. So I went to the Trade Addicts site, scrolled down to the wide receiver 20, and it happened to be Calvin Ridley. I'm like, that actually works really well. And
it does. Yeah. It does. Yeah, no, it does, man. I think the value there is pretty close.
All right. Well, we don't need to hear about Brian's thoughts on Njoku because we've talked about this dude a whole lot. Let's move on to your trade away player.
Yeah, the guy I'm trading away might be a guy that you could do straight up for David Njoku.
Actually,
and it might work, and that's Will Fuller. And the reason why I'm getting rid of Will Fuller isn't, it doesn't have a whole lot to do with talent. It has to do with his role in that offense. I know Kiki Kuti just got hurt, but the writing's on the wall, man. Kuti can do everything that Fuller does. And even though, both of them seem to have some injury history, Kuti is a lot cleaner throughout college as far as injuries go. So I like Kuti an awful lot. I think he's cutting into Will Fuller's time, and it's only a matter of time before this team addresses that tight end position. DeAndre Hopkins is still the top dog there. I just feel like now is the time to get value for Will Fuller. Move him early so you can get something for him, because eventually this team is going to upgrade the tight end position. And when Kuti gets healthy and gets another year under his belt, I think his role is going to expand. So this is a guy who I think might be on the outside of the target share moving forward in Houston.
Yeah, I agree completely. All right, so here's the real question about Will Fuller. What the heck is he worth? Let's say you have Will Fuller on your team, I offer you the 14th pick in the upcoming draft. Is that enough to get Will Fuller off of you?
Yeah, I think I'm doing it. I'm doing it for an early second. I think I would. I mean, running back is difficult because it's such a volatile position, so it's hard to deal a wide receiver and gauge a running back's value. In my opinion, but if I had to put like a value on him, a player that I think is probably valued pretty closely to him, I might even look at like a Jerick McKinnon. A guy who you're not going to get anything out of this year, so it's going to lower his value, but a guy who maybe in the future, if he's healthy, could kind of give you something. I think I would look at kind of almost a future deal like that, like a Will Fuller for Jerick McKinnon. And while you may lose that in the short term, in the long term, you're looking at hopefully hitting a home run and winning that. So that might be a guy. And especially, when you look at stuff like that, guys like Hunter Henry, if those guys are rostered by a team that is competing now, make an offer for him, even if it's a lower offer. They might consider it, because if they're making a push this year and you're not, they might consider moving an asset who isn't doing anything for him this season for a guy who might. So,
yeah, I like it. That's like, I'm a Jet believer, so I'm all for that.
Guys,
fair enough.
I just looked up his ADP for October on DLF. So first of all, let me say,
wait, are we talking Fuller?
Yeah,
I think I know what this is.
So first of all, let me say I agree, James. I think he's a guy that is probably going to end up getting. I don't know if I want to say phased out, but I think what he has been in that offense with Deshaun Watson so far, I don't think that's going to continue. So I'm with you there. This is insane to me. His ADP right now he's third round startup ADP.
Yeah, he's like 34, 36.
33. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. Wow.
Yeah, go sell him now, because if you can get third round startup value for Will freaking Fuller, you need to be moving him right now.
Amen, brothers. All right.
Wow.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I love the back and forth that this next guy brings on. Let's talk about your keep.
Yeah, my keep is going to be Ronald Jones, mainly because I'm stubborn, but also because
it's good that you could admit it at least.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's I got to take ownership of it at least. But yeah, no, Ronald Jones to me, you watch him and he just passes the eyeball test. I'm sorry he does. There were several runs this last week watching him against Cleveland where he was hitting the backfield by like 4 different guys, and he would break all those tackles to gain a yard. It was, you know what it almost reminds me of? It almost reminded me of Joe Mixon last year. Last season, Joe Mixon was hit so many times behind the line of scrimmage that a 2-yard run seemed impressive. And that's exactly the way it was with Ronald Jones. It seemed like this guy was always breaking tackles, spinning off of guys just to get back to the line of scrimmage or gain a yard. And also, the knock on him was Tampa Bay, even out of Tampa Bay's camp, they just felt like he shouldn't be involved in the passing game. He's looked really good in the passing game. I mean, he only had 1 grab this last week for 15 yards against Cleveland, but that was on 1 target. The week before, he had 2 targets. He caught both passes, no issue. Didn't have a whole lot of room to do anything with them, but I mean, he looks fine out of the backfield. He looks like he can catch the ball, and he looks like he'll be fine running it too. So I think it's a matter of time before he takes over the majority of carries in that backfield. And then we can really evaluate him. Once he's starting to get 18 to 20 carries or 18 to 20 touches, I feel like that's when you can really start evaluating Ronald Jones. So I'm going to keep him now. I'm not saying that in the future, he might not be a sell, but for now, I'm keeping Ronald Jones just to further evaluate and see what we got in him.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a smart move. I own 0 Ronald Jones, so I can't do that. But yeah, you brought some good guys to the table. And speaking of good guys, Brian, you're a good guy. Let's hear your buy for the week.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
That transition game is strong right there.
It is. So my buy trade and keeps this week. I went. This is like the second week out of the last 3 that I've gone super quarterback heavy. And I'm going to start with Carson Wentz as my buy. So, you think about Carson Wentz and it's like, well, why would you be buying him? He's one of the top. Well, right now he's quarterback 24. Now, he missed 2 games, obviously, to start the season. But even on average, even his points per game average from fantasy perspective, he's 15th right now, quarterback 15. So I don't know that it's going to be easy to get him. But now might be a time to get him like not at top 3 dynasty quarterback price. And if you can get him outside of top 3 dynasty quarterback price, I'm buying all day, every day. Wentz is a star in the league. He's an unbelievable player. That whole Philly squad right now is struggling, but I don't think they're going to moving forward. I think they'll get that ship straightened out. And Wentz is a guy that I want to own every possible place I can own him. And if you can get him at any type of discount whatsoever, I'm all about that. So that Carson Wentz is my buy.
Wait, hold on. Because I'm so curious about this. I know like in our trade that we did a few weeks ago, it pretty much worked out to Wentz for McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say your offer would be? Because a team that's winning right now isn't going to sell you Wentz. So let's say you have Phillip Rivers on your team and you want to make that big push for the playoffs. You have Phillip Rivers and a couple of firsts. What is your offer for Carson Wentz?
I would pay all of that. Easy.
So Rivers and how many? 2 firsts?
2. Easy. For Wentz?
Rivers and 3 firsts? Because what was...
I'd probably pay Rivers in 2 or 3.
Wait, James, I'm sure you have this bored into your head. I know John Hogue always says there's only like 3 people that are worth 3 firsts. Was Wentz one of them?
Wentz was one of them. Yes, I don't know how his rankings have fallen now, but Wentz was one of them, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. If you're trying to build your dynasty, go hit up for 3 firsts. And especially in this year, that quarterback is kind of... yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I don't know that you have to pay it either, to be honest. I mean, just real quick, I don't know that you have to. So I think that's why it's a good buy at this point.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I mean, if you can get it for less, so yeah,
right.
Go. Yeah, stop. Well, don't stop listening. But when you're done listening, or while you're listening, go offer some trades.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, go. Keep going.
All right, and then my trade is 2 quarterbacks. One we can get right out of the way real quick, and that's Brock Osweiler.
If you could find someone buying Brock Osweiler, you give it.
Correct. Correct. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, the guy's actually playing now, and he's like had 2 weeks that weren't like awful weeks. They were like, average weeks. Mm-hmm. So if there's anybody that is like really struggling in a super flex league for quarterbacks, go get it done as soon as possible. Get him off of your roster because he's probably never going to be worth anything ever again, in my opinion. So, and the other guy's Big Ben Roethlisberger. After week 6, he was
as opposed to Big Ben Josen. Wow, that's not even the last name.
Big Ben Watson.
Yeah, Big Ben. I went to say Joseph. I'm like, wait, that's not a last name either. Johnson. There you go. You had to actually specify Big Ben's last name.
Wait, Big Johnson. That's what you want to go with.
Big Ben. Hey, I was riding the Johnson train before. Yeah, that's right. I put that out there.
Oh, just hit the rewind on that one. Yeah, no, Big Ben Roethlisberger. Leading the league in passing after 6 weeks. I just don't think that type of production is sustainable. Who knows when Le'Veon Bell's coming back? Now he's done that without Bell, but I think that's the point. He's also old, and I just don't see it happening long term here. Big Ben has always been a guy that struggled away from Heinz Field. He has done a little bit better on the road this year than in years past. So that's a good thing for my fandom. I just don't expect it to continue. I really don't. He does have the great receivers, obviously, as well. So he is throwing the ball to, he's starting to connect with Vance McDonald a little bit too, and which is helping things. But again, I don't expect Roethlisberger to stay at the level he's played at so far this season. And even if he does, I don't expect him to do it more than this season. So who knows? He may retire at the end of the year. I mean, he talks about it every
20 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Right now, he is a quarterback that teams that are contending can. I mean, you can make an argument that he's a guy to go get if you're contending at this point. But me personally, I'm trying. If I'm not contending and I don't need him at quarterback, I'm moving him.
I pulled up a schedule because I remember hearing someone saying that it was not great, and 2 out of his next 4 games are away games, which he's bad at, versus the Ravens and versus the Jaguars. So he does not have a very nice schedule coming up. And then Broncos, Chargers. I mean, the playoffs is Raiders, Patriots, Saints, which is kind of nice. So if you can maybe bench him for the next 5 weeks and then break him out for the playoffs, maybe. But yeah, he's got a bit of a tough schedule coming up also. So that might be another reason to kind of get out while you can, especially on, he had the bye week last week. So people still just remember those good few games before then.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that take. And I want to give a shout out to John Hogue at Superflex Dude. Because he pointed out to me that his next 2 road games were in Baltimore and in Jacksonville, Big Ben's, because I was all about buying him. And when I looked at his schedule, you guys are absolutely right. It's probably, if you're going to sell him now. Like, sell him either now or sell him after this game against Cleveland at home, and reap the benefits now, because I think his value goes down after he plays on the road against Baltimore and against Jacksonville's defense.
It's also very likely John is where I heard this from, which made me think about it. So, yeah. Good job, John. All right. I think you have more people to talk about, right, Brian?
Yeah. Yeah. So my keep is Mitchell Trubisky. I have really liked what I've seen out of Trubisky the last couple of weeks. Right now, he's, I believe, quarterback 11 on the season. But average points per game, he's quarterback 7. And the last 3 weeks, I think he's been over 35 points in each of those weeks.
35, and 40 going back.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like he's settling into the new offense there. He's doing that without getting the ball to his number 1 wide receiver, Allen Robinson, which is blowing my mind a little bit. But I mean, he's looked good. Trubisky's looked very good over the last several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his accuracy is tremendous. You know, he's making plays with his feet too, which I didn't really know that he was capable of. I mean, I knew he was mobile in the pocket, but I didn't realize that he could kind of get outside and make defenses pay there too. So it's been fun to watch him over the last couple of weeks, and I think this is a guy that, you know, I mean, they obviously believed in him, Chicago, to do what they did to go up and get him at 2, but he wasn't a guy that was really super on my radar when he, you know, last year. And then, you know, I don't know, just in the offseason, watching film and listening to a couple guys that I respect in this game, you know, talk about him and the way he was playing and what they were excited to see. It kind of made me look a little closer. And again, the last 3 weeks have been very good, and he's looked really good. And so he's a guy that I'm holding on to here and hoping that he can turn into a long-term option at quarterback on my fantasy teams. What do you guys think about Trubisky?
All right. So I was super high on Trubisky, and then I got so scared off by those first few games. I will not admit it. He was one of my make amends guys probably 2-3 weeks ago, which I've learned if I ever make amends for anyone, they're going to score a touchdown the next week or do just like crazy. Because I made amends for Mariota and Trubisky. Trubisky threw 6 touchdowns, and Mariota had his only good game of the season so far. So clearly go buy Jamison Crowder right now, and you're welcome. So, I mean, it's tough. Like, I want to be able to say, yeah, I was in on Trubisky, but I gave up pretty easily. So I can't really take too much credit for it. But yeah, if I have him, I don't know, because I can't imagine anyone's willing to pay these past 3 games value for him. And that's what I would want. So yeah, I think keep is the perfect thing to do with him right now.
Well, and Russ, you know, you and I think we're going to talk about a trade that we made,
which almost had him in it.
Yeah, that almost had him in it, and we went back and forth for a half an hour on just Trubisky, just kind of discussing his value and okay, well, who's the real Mitch Trubisky? The first 3 weeks or the last 3 weeks or last 2 weeks? At that time, he hadn't put up the week against New England yet, but. You know, and you're exactly right. I think, you know, people that own him aren't going to sell him for, you know, less than what a probably top, I don't know, 10 quarterback is going to be worth. And people that are buying aren't going to pay that typically unless they're super, super QB needy. So that's exactly why I chose him as my keep. I think it's just a good time to hold on to him and kind of see what develops, so you can see who the real Mitch Trubisky is. So,
yeah. What are your feelings on him, James?
Real quick, I agree. I like Trubisky a lot. I think sometimes we expect these quarterbacks right away just to flip that switch and to be good. Look, I don't think anybody was excited about Mitch Trubisky playing under John Fox in that offense of hand the ball off to Jordan Howard 25 times. I mean, it wasn't going to be anything that was going to help fantasy owners. And then all of a sudden at the end of the season, we get Matt Nagy and we hear all these things about his offense. And, you know, I think immediately I just thought, man, Mitch Trubisky is going to be a guy, you know, he's going to be a dog in this league now. And it just didn't happen right away. And so it was disappointing, you know, because you expected these big things. You heard about it all off season and nothing really kind of happened with that passing offense. And it was disappointing. But now you start to see that this is coming along and you just, you know, it just serves as a reminder almost that, look, this guy's young, you know, this guy's going through his second offense already in the NFL. You know, with time, this guy could be really, really good in this offense if we can just be patient. So I think keeping or holding is the play here. I think just holding and letting this play out, seeing how good he can be in this offense. I really think his value is only going to go up from here. So I think this is the play. It's to keep. If anything, I might even be buying a little bit.
Yeah, if you can get someone to believe that these past 3 games are flukish, then yeah, you go. I mean, are you getting him for 1 first at all?
I don't think you are in Superflex.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what we're talking about. So what on top of 1 first are you willing to pay to get Trubisky? Well, James is one that talks about buying them, so let James answer this one.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm looking at how about one of the hot guys that just performed really high that's young, like a Marlon Mack? Is that a guy that I can add to a first round pick that somebody who's running back needy sees kind of what he just did? Is that a guy that I can add to it, or do I have to go above that? If I do, I don't know how much higher I'd go, but man, it's definitely interesting when you look at Mitch Trubisky's value, because I do think that you probably have to pay a little bit more than a first to get him. But I also think that if I'm in a super flex league and I'm not contending, that's when I'm really going to look for Mitch Trubisky. And if I could do like a Tom Brady for Mitch Trubisky to a contender, I think I would do that. Something like that, to where I'm getting rid of an aging prospect. How about what Brian talked about? How about moving Big Ben for someone like that? I mean, you can get younger at that position, and maybe move him to a contender. So that might be something I would look at doing, is getting younger at that position if I'm not contending this year.
Yeah, I like it. That's smart. Okay, so thank you, Brian, for the quarterbacks. Now we're going to jump into mine. We already talked about my keeps. All I really have are a couple of buys, and these are kind of more rest of season than dynasty in general, just because these to me are guys that we now see are part of their team's game plan, which that we weren't sure before. Marlon Mack, Tariq Cohen, and Flash Gordon, Josh Gordon. Well, I'm going to say Flash from now on because that's what I call him. So Flash equals Josh Gordon. These are 3 guys that we weren't really sure going into even this past week how much these teams were dedicated to making them the guy. Marlon Mack was just getting back from injury. Naheem Hines was catching the ball like a madman. They were giving Wilkins the ball even though he wasn't doing much with it. Tariq Cohen, we were all wondering if Jordan Howard was going to get the ball, especially with Trubisky playing as well as he has been. Are they going to give the ball to Jordan Howard to run the game out? And then Flash going over to the Patriots, there was the small percentage of people saying that, okay, we have the next Randy Moss, but everyone's like, all right, I'm not going to take that risk on. I think it might be worth taking the risk on for Flash right now. He's been getting, if not double digits, both games, very close to it. And he's been getting deep balls too, no less. And with the Patriots being kind of iffy the past 2 games, that's going to be a guy they're going to be going to, especially with Gronk hurt, and especially with the fact that Gronk likes to get hurt and Edelman also likes to get hurt. So I think Flash is going to be a very big part of this offense going forward. I would love for it to be a dynasty move and to have Flash be a guy going forward, but I definitely don't really have much faith in just yet. But I think these are guys that aren't too expensive, and I think they are guys that will help you even just going forward this week. I have a couple of trades that people submitted to us. Let me know what you guys think of this. Now, this is a 12-team 0.5 PPR, but that's a little boring. So let's even say 12-team PPR tight end premium. Are you trading Jimmy Graham for Tariq Cohen?
Ooh. I tell you what, the name recognition of Jimmy Graham should get me a little bit more, but I think I'd rather have Cohen. I'm going to be honest with you. I think at this point of the season, I'd rather have Cohen. So I think I'd be on the Cohen side, and I'll probably be on the minority if I had to guess.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I am too.
Nice.
Cohen's explosive. I mean, he's just every time he touches the ball, it's like, is this dude going to take it to the house on this play? Or
and Jimmy, just if you watch, like, I know he had a lot of catches the last game because they had their bye. So sorry, my friend is a daycare teacher, and she made a pumpkin that looks like Poppy from Trolls, and it's
that's awesome.
Way to ruin my podcast, Ariel. All right. All right. So yeah, so I know Jimmy Graham caught a bunch of balls before their bye week, and I know, like, to me, that's not who he is anymore. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to get healthier, especially after the bye week, so he won't be as desperate to get rid of the ball right away. And Jimmy Graham doesn't even look like he can run anymore. Like, if you watch this guy, like, he's turning into a dad runner. Shout out to Living the Stream for dad runner. So I would, even in a tight end premium, I'm completely fine selling Jimmy Graham for someone who in Tariq Cohen could be a week winner. All right, moving on. Marlon Mack. This was before the game on Sunday, but at Superflexer FF said he sent a 20, not a 20. What the hell year are we in? Man,
we're in 18, so 19.
Yeah, a 2019 second for Marlon Mack, a mid 2019 second. And even after the game, do you think it would take more than a mid early second to get Marlon Mack? I mean, I don't think so. And if he can do a 3/4 of what he just did last game, completely worth it, especially if you're using him for the run. And again, it seems like he's the guy there, and it seems like they want him to be the guy there. So it means he'll still be the guy there next year. So I think this is even a smart dynasty move, even though, like I said, that this is kind of rest a year-ish. And my last one was Flash, who, again, no one knew what really to think of coming in. But his first game, he got 10 targets, I think it was, or his first full game where he was actually part of the, the game plan. And I don't know what he did last week, but he did, I think he had 5 catches, which, again, here we go. At Fantasy Guru _. Man, underscore at the end just feels like cheating. He sent a late 19 first for Josh Gordon. At this point, I think if I'm contending and I think I'm going to have the last pick of the first round, I think I would do that very easily. What do you guys think of Flash?
I'm excited to hear James' answer to this.
It's interesting. His value is just so difficult for me to gauge. And the main reason is because a lot of people held Josh Gordon through his suspension or through part of it. And when you do that and you have that roster spot tied up for a guy, when he comes back, I mean, good luck trying to trade for him, right? So that was just it. It was like people overvalued him because they felt, hey, look, I held on to this guy for 6 weeks, so no, I'm not trading him now that he's coming back. So I almost feel like his value was always just kind of overhyped and overblown. I think it's come down some ever since the trade happened, because I think initially when that trade happened, his value was through the roof. I think it's come down a little bit because his role hasn't been Randy Moss-ish, like he's, I know that you had said, Russ, that there were some people that kind of thought that this was going to be the next Randy Moss, and I think there were people who thought that Josh Gordon was going to come in and just dominate right away. That hasn't been the case. He's been good though, and so I think that is probably the most I'm spending for him, and that's if I'm a contending team, I'm probably willing to give a late first. If I need the receiver help, but that's probably the most I'm doing. And I think the logic is sound, like you said. I mean, the upside is there. He's part of a high scoring offense. He has one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time throwing him the ball. Things have changed a little bit for Josh Gordon, and the receiving targets there, like you said, Gronk and Edelman aren't the most reliable. Chris Hogan hasn't been great. And the running game has been good. Sony Michel has surprisingly, he and James White have surprisingly been really effective the past few weeks. So I think that only helps Josh Gordon, working off of play action and working deep. So I think I would probably do that at this point. I would give a late first, but that's the max I think I would pay for him.
Yeah. So, James, I remember your article.
Mm-hmm.
The very first article you did for DLF. Was on Josh Gordon. Go check that out, people. That was when he was a Brown. I feel the exact same way that I felt the day you wrote that article as I do today. Exactly the same. I'm not touching Josh Gordon with a 10-foot pole. Now, Russ, it makes sense. I can see. Here's the thing for me. Your argument is correct. And I agree with it in the sense that Josh Gordon as a as a push to win a championship this year? Can this guy make it from late October to, mid-December without screwing up? And if he can, he's worth that pick. He's worth a late first. For me, though, especially in Dynasty, even if you're making a push for a championship in Dynasty, there are other options that I'd rather pay a late first for and not have to worry about the ramifications of what happens in the offseason if this guy smokes weed. I just do not trust Josh Gordon. I hope I'm wrong on this one, and I've said that before. I want this guy to get his life in order, and this is as much in order as it's been in a long time. So I'm happy for him, and I hope he stays on the straight and narrow because he's an unbelievably talented player, and he's a lot of fun to watch. He does some things on the football field that make you go like, wow. Like, it sucks that we had to miss 3 or 4 years of that with him not being able to be on the field because of off the field stuff. But I just can't, I would rather spend a late first, for example. There's an argument to be made that this guy isn't going to be a long-term option either. But I'd rather spend a late first on Golden Tate.
Yeah.
Because I might get him for more than one season. And I'm just not confident that Josh Gordon, history says he's not going to be able to keep his head on straight. Again, I hope that that's wrong. I hope he's finally gotten to the point where he can, and he's in this league now, and more importantly, that his life's in order. So I just think there are other options that I'd rather spend that pick on than Gordon still, even though he's balling out right now. So that's where I am on it.
I love that.
But again, I think your argument is correct.
Yeah, I love that even when you disagree with me, you still agree with me a little bit.
I'm too nice a guy, man.
It's seriously we were actually accused for agreeing too much earlier today in one of my chats. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Agreeing too much.
I know, right? I think being too nice, that's not good for the podcast. We have to start just randomly yelling at each other.
Absolutely. That's what Travis and John do. And apparently that works. So
I'm going to lock myself in a room, listen to nothing but the Superflex Super Show just to try and get
for inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, and depending on what side you're on, if you like running backs, then just listen to John. Mute everyone else. Listen to John. Just come back and you'll be yelling. But if
you like explosive receivers, though,
yeah. If you want to trust the process, listen to Travis, and that might just drive you nuts. And you might
receivers that are technicians.
He's a technician.
Technicians, yes, yeah. And dad jokes and lots of placenta.
Those get me every. All right. Well, those were our buys, trades, and keeps for the week, and I think we did a good job. Yeah, we'll keep doing this podcast. Good job.
It was good. Yeah, man. You guys nailed it.
Cool. All right. So our next segment is our Trade Addicts trades.
Trade Addicts trades.
Trades. We have 2 trades to talk about. All of our Trade Addicts leagues, 12-team, super flex, PPR tight end premium. Now, both of these are mine. One of them was with Brian, but Brian has a little bit to do with both of them. We'll get to the Trade Addicts 2 trade, which did not involve Brian, but this happened because of Brian. We talked about Brian's trade last week where he's just like, I'm going to go buy Keenan Allen and Travis Kelce. No big deal. So he started an arms race.
Literally, I started an arms race. Like all the contending teams made deals in the week following. It was hilarious.
I went nuts. I traded for Kareem Hunt, which was awesome because he put up like 30 points.
Nice.
That trade was way too many pieces to really talk about right now. So we're going to talk about this other one. Aaron Jones, Jerick McKinnon, and Kiki Kuti, a couple of guys we've talked about already today, for Robert Woods and a 19-second. The awesome thing about these 2 trades we're going to talk about, practically even on Twitter, the Twitter poll, and both of them 200 or more votes. So that's awesome. That's what we like to see. So again, James, We like to let our guests go first, and since you had zero to do with this trade, let us know how you feel about this one.
Ooh, man, this one, both these are tough. I'll just go on record now as to saying that they're both. I'm having trouble processing both, but I tell you what, I look at one side of this trade, and as much as I love Kiki Kuti, that's about how much I don't love dealing for Aaron Jones at this point. I don't know that Green Bay is ever going to trust him with a full workload, and that's what scares me. I think he's talented enough to be a lead back, but I don't know. I don't know that McCarthy ever gets let go, and I don't see him ever using Aaron Jones, giving him the usage that he deserves. So that scares me a little bit. Jerick McKinnon, obviously a guy you're not going to get anything out of this year, but you're buying for next year. So it almost looks to me like that side is kind of getting some pieces for next season. The other side, however, is getting a 2019 second, which obviously is for the future, and Robert Woods. And Robert Woods has been pretty good, but I think you're selling him pretty high here. He still is the third receiver on the Rams, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Cooks is there for a while. Cooper Kupp's going to be there for a while. Robert Woods, to me, is still the third option at best, sometimes the fourth when you count Gurley in the passing game as well. I just have a hard time buying Robert Woods at this point. I think I'm going to side with the Aaron Jones, Jerick McKinnon, Kuti side, but man, is it close. The 2019 second, to me, definitely has some value to it. And even, saying that Robert Woods is that far down the totem pole, the guy's already had a bunch of usable games in fantasy. So it's not like, you're getting nothing there, but I think I'm going to side with the running back heavy side, take a couple flyers on some backs that hopefully one pans out. And I absolutely love Kuti moving forward. So that's kind of what puts it over the top for me, I think.
Even if I told you that Robert Woods in points per game is higher than Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp?
He's a wide receiver 9 on the season so far.
Yeah, I still think I
completely agree with you.
That's his side. He's just giving you crap.
No, yeah, I got Robert Woods.
Did you? Okay.
Because I am in first place in my division in this league, and then Brian is in second in his, and then, like I said, went out and bought Keenan and Kelsey, and I'm like, I can't sit on my laurels. I need to go do something. So I went buying. And Robert Woods, I knew, was a steady wide receiver I could throw in there every week and feel okay about it. And that's really what I needed, because I was starting either Calvin Ridley, who I sent in the deal for Kareem Hunt, or Kiki after I traded Ridley. And that's not really championship material right there, kind of. So, and I feel like Woods is out, like, to be my bottom wide receiver, I would absolutely be happy with Robert Woods there. And my feeling was I'm going to flip the second well before the draft. So I was fine taking a pick instead of another player, because he didn't, again, he's rebuilding clearly. So he didn't really have another startable guy of that value to get in there. So that's to completely ruin our value-based discussion and go complete narrative. That's why that trade happened. So Brian,
the narrative makes it way more like, totally understand. And it makes total sense, because if you're trying to win now, McKinnon does nothing for you. Kiki Kuti is hurt again, so I don't know how much that does for you moving forward. Whereas Robert Woods, I mean, that's out of the 4 players that are involved in this trade, that's the one you want for this year. So that totally makes sense to me. If you're trying to win now, I would rather have Robert Woods than any of those 3 guys that you traded away. So
the craziest thing about the Rams wide receivers right now is you could literally own all 3 and start all 3 every week, and you'd be okay. Like, you could start 3 wide receivers from the same team every single week, and you'd still be okay. Like, that's how good that offense is right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's no other offense that you can say that with. You could say 2 with guys like, you can go over to Atlanta with Ridley and Jones. You can Pittsburgh, obviously, with Antonio Brown and Juju, but there's not even a whole lot of teams you can do that with. But 3, I mean, I don't know that I can remember ever there being 3. Maybe back to the greatest show on turf when they had Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and Oz, Oz was, he was scoring these 85-yard touchdown bombs. So if you got one, you were good, So yeah, it's interesting. It's been a while.
They do not use the tight end like at all.
At all.
Like not at all. Like
as a depressed Gerald Everett owner, I know that.
I know, right? I had him.
Brutal.
He was cheap. All right, so that is that trade. Twitter says I lost. James says I lost, but I don't care. My heart, I won.
You're undefeated, so you say that you won, and you're right. So
there you go. Take that, Twitterverse. All right, our TA3 trade was between Brian and myself. We're both, actually, I'm pretty out of it. You're not. This is my team that I just lost to Fugazi with, and I'm now 1-6, and he's 7-0, and I cried myself to sleep Monday. So we won't tell you who was who just yet, James. Mike Evans and Kenny Galladay for Jarvis Landry and Joe Mixon. Now, before you answer this one, 51% to 49%. I'll say it was on the Landry Mixon side, but it doesn't even really matter.
Yeah, man. Gentlemen, pat yourselves on the backs because this is a trade right here. This is like, you can't pick a loser here. Both of you win this trade. Like, first off, Kenny Galladay is my favorite player in this trade. I absolutely love Kenny Galladay. I'm so high on this guy moving forward. I'm just like, I've been buying him everywhere, pretty much anywhere and everywhere that he is for sale for a reasonable price. He's on my roster now. I love his upside. I love the fact that he's in a pass heavy offense. I love the fact that he is an emerging asset, not one that's going to be descending, but and you pair him with Mike Evans, who's having a great season. Tampa Bay's defense is terrible. They are throwing the ball all the time. Peyton Barber is not good running the ball consistently. So, I mean, he's getting a ton of targets this year. So for this year, I love Mike Evans. Moving forward, I'm not a huge Mike Evans fan. I've seen the guy drop too many passes. I've seen the ebb and flow, the ups and downs of him. So that scares me a little bit. On the other side, I really like both these pieces. I mean, Jarvis Landry to me is a guy who finally last week started seeing the targets again, especially in the second half. I hope Baker kind of learned that, hey, I'm going to start throwing to my best receiver in Jarvis Landry. And I like his role moving forward. I like his role in this offense. And I really like Joe Mixon an awful lot too. Joe Mixon to me is that underrated back that, I could see this guy year in and year out being a top 10 back, almost like Jordan Howard was for the past few years, and just not getting the recognition that he deserves. Joe Mixon almost reminds me of that guy. He's not going to be the guy who's going to give you a whole lot of flash, but substance, he's going to give you. He's going to give you those points. He's going to give you those that workload. So, man, to me, I mean, this is such a coin flip. It's so tough for me to choose a side. If I have to choose a side,
you do.
I'm going to go with the Landry Mixon side only because Mike Evans scares me just a little bit moving forward. But guys, this trade is really, really good.
Sorry, I was too busy celebrating with my hands. Going. Yeah, that was I got Landry and Mixon. This was the trade that Brian referred to before. This actually started with me trying to get a quarterback, and then it just turned into I want Landry and Mixon. So I'm going to find a way to get Landry and Mixon because I've been trying to get these guys. What's your name? Brian actually took over this team from a guy that had to drop out, and if I've been trying to get Mixon and Landry from that guy, and he wouldn't do it. But I knew I'd get Brian eventually because I got you.
Warm down.
Yeah, like this. I love trading with Brian because it always comes down to this. I don't think we've had a trade that ended at further away than 45-55.
No,
trades ends up being way too close, which is good and bad. Like, because I want to beat you.
Well, you have so far. You're 2-0 against me this year in Trade Addicts leagues at this point. So I will admit that you are 2-0 against me.
I totally do that too, and I just wasn't going to bring it up. That is something I didn't realize at all.
Hey, I give props where props are due. Even though I'm still ahead of you in the standings in one of those 2 leagues. And I'm coming for you in that other one. So,
oh,
I'm going to go make some more trades. Hold on. No, but this trade was a lot of fun. And this trade took like a day and a half for us to really work out, especially because it started with quarterbacks in a super flex league and a dude that is Mitchell Trubisky, who, again, I've been waffling on horribly, and you are getting higher and higher on. So it was clear after not so long that I don't think we were going to really agree on a value for him. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, again, that's why, like you were saying, James, go and talk to a guy, see what they like and what they want, because this trade, which was awesome for both of us, started as completely something different, and it was just the communication that got us to where we were.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge knowing what somebody else is thinking and what they want off your roster. It makes a huge difference in your offers compared to just throwing something against the wall, So yeah.
And don't be afraid to be honest, because I literally said, "Oh, God damn it, just give me Jarvis Landry." At one point. And it worked. He gave me Jarvis Landry. Well, gave is a strong word. But all right, man. Well, that's the end of our show sheet. So that's the end of our show. I didn't remember to look to see when we started recording, so I have no idea how long we have, but I don't care. Again, this was we've been getting some good guests lately, and looks like we have a third co-host now, James. Like, we're just keeping you. We're not logging off. We're going to keep this recording until next week, and you just have to.
Yeah, man, that totally works. You guys record at night, and we've been recording like 5 o'clock in the morning. So this requires no coffee. This requires no, I don't have to curse coming down the stairs to record this like I have been. So this works. This might just be a match made in heaven. Brian, I do have to tell you though, man, the Superflex Super Show Super Friends League, I am playing you this week. So if you kind of want to bench some of your good players, that would be great.
The good news for you is I have literally 2 startable running backs, and one of them's on bye this week. So,
Damian Williams is who you started last week at running back. So that's something that helps me a little bit.
It was bad.
I have Eli Manning rostered, so I have Nathan Peterman rostered in this league. So that'll show you.
Even things out, maybe you got to start him.
Oh man! This week he might outscore this week what he's done in some weeks for me. I'm not gonna lie. If he doesn't play, man, I'm telling you, this league is brutal. But I can tell you right now, having James Conner in my lineup is gonna make me feel some sort of way.
Oh yeah,
with them playing the Browns. At the very least, I can go, well, if the Browns win and shut him down, I'll be happy. But if he scores 3 touchdowns, at least I know at some level, it's going to hurt you a little bit, right?
If you were a real Browns fan, you'd bench him.
Oh man, you're putting that evil on me. I think I got Capri Bibbs.
I need some help this week, man.
Oh man, I'm telling you.
Now you do that. Capri Bibbs scores 3 touchdowns. Sometimes.
Yeah, I know. I absolutely would. On my bench, if I start him, he won't do anything. No, oh man.
Get this. I have more points in this league. This is talk about frustrating. I am the 3rd highest scorer. This is a 16-team league. Mm-hmm. I'm the 3rd highest scorer, and I'm 3-4 and in 3rd place in my division. And neither of the 2 teams that are in my division have scored more points than me, and it's not even close. Wow. I've outscored them by 140 points a week, or not a week, 140 points. So I'm averaging 169 a week, and they're averaging 148 a week. One's 6-1, one's 5-2, and I'm 3-4.
Well, I that's crazy, dude. I can tell you I'm right behind you in total points. I'm next, and I am also 3-4. So, but I'm tied for the division lead in my division at 3-4. So I can't even complain too much.
And Fugazi's 3-4 in this league. So
yeah, he is. He spanked me early in the year, though. I thought he was going to be really good, but he's lost like 2 of 3, I think. So
0.6. God, why'd you have to bring that guy back up? Oh, and I was the 2nd highest score that week in the league, and it didn't.
You guys were the top 2. Yep, that sucks.
Man, we're ending this show now. Thank you. We're having such a good time. And then, all right. Well, before we do sign off, James, remind everyone where they can find you and what you do.
Yeah, thanks again. They can find me at _James the Brain on Twitter. Also over at DLF.com or DynastyWeekFootball.com. All sorts of good content there. I'm a writer for Dynasty Week Football. Proud to be part of that team. And also you can find us at Superflex Super Show on Twitter, as I'm the co-host with John Hogue and Travis Rasmussen for the Superflex Super Show. And guys, thanks again for having me on. This was a blast.
No, thanks for coming on. Like, we've been meaning to have you on for a while now, so it's awesome to actually have you on, and for you not sucking. So that's great.
Well, we'll let the listeners decide on that. All right, because they might have a different feel for it. So we'll see.
I was about to say, well, I don't care what they say, but I completely care what they say.
Oh yeah, we have to care.
I'm dancing, but you can't see it. I'll dance for you. It's fine. Oh, speaking of DLF and stuff, Brian, Mr. Nice Guy, will either say he never remembers or he's too shy to talk about it. This guy has rankings on DLF, and you should go check them out.
Yeah, I do. I do some of the Superflex and 2QB rankings over there, so feel free to stop over and take a look at those.
And then absolutely add him to tell him how wrong.
Yeah, please. I love the discussion. So.
All right. Awesome. So, yes. Thanks again, James. Brian, awesome as always.
Yes. Thanks, James. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me on again, man. Thank you both.
All right. On that note, night, Brian.
Night, Outhouse.
Night, James. Good night, James.
Night, James. Did he sign off?
He's gone.
Ah.
He's fired.